It's pro day at Clemson. This is the moment that these guys, when they signed out of high school, they came to Clemson. This is the reason they came to play at Clemson. It's to go to the pros and make more money than, well, they will know what to do with. Welcome to Clemson Football Live. I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here. If you're brand new to the show, or you've been watching for a while and you've never subscribed, I hope you'll subscribe. That little bell's dinging. Yeah, that could be you right now. Just boom. Yeah, you just go in and it's free. All right? I do appreciate it. Now, I asked the question a couple of days ago, what is some subjects or a topic, blah, 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 that you want me to cover? And someone said, talk about Pro Day. I'd like for you to talk about Pro Day. All right? Now, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm not a big fan of the NFL. I'm going to keep my rants about it to myself for right now because I've ranted before. But the young men who signed with Clemson coming out of high school, they're really boys, coming out of high school. They signed with Clemson. They signed with Georgia, Ohio State, etc. to make it to the big leagues. They don't come to a school to get a sociology degree so they can make a whopping $40,000 to $50,000 per year. Big whoop. I mean, yes or no, not everybody is a nuclear physicist. Not everyone is Calvin Johnson getting an engineering degree at Georgia Tech. But we know by just the degrees they pick that they're just trying to get through school. They're trying to get through season to season until they get their eligibility to go to the NFL. I can't blame them. They can make a lot of money. So Clemson's Pro Day has been going on. It's brought in a lot of people. Mike Tomlin is on the thumbnail for a reason. Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan, I believe the general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, was in Clemson to see Nate Wiggins and Jeremiah Trotter. And you can't blame them. That's a good move on their part. And they're interested in these guys for a reason, and we know why. Nate Wiggins, I think, is one of the best stories because in 2022, when he played against Wake Forest, he got torched. I mean torched. Most guys, and he was only a sophomore then, most guys, they tuck their tail and they fall apart. Not Nate Wiggins. That Wake Forest game was one of the greatest things to ever happen to him. After that, he became a shutdown machine. He had the pick six in the ACC championship against Drake May, ran it all the way, in North Carolina, ran it all the way back for the touchdown. We saw the guy come out and just absolutely be a menace last year. There were some people who even tried to say, I believe he's just overrated. Really? He's overrated? A guy who consistently produces is overrated? Oh, okay, you go back over there with your Crayolas and finish coloring your pretty little picture we can put up on the kitchen refrigerator, and we're going to stay over here and talk serious football. The guy can play his brains out. Jeremiah Trotter, of course, we've seen this guy just dominate. We've seen a lot of players who has the same name as their dad, but they don't have the same abilities as their dad. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., he just came out and played his butt off. I was excited about both of these guys coming out of high school, and it's good to see that the pros is taking notice. Now, someone else who's doing really solid right now is Will Shipley. Will Shipley, now these are unofficial times, but he ran an unofficial 4.38 on his first run, and then he ran somewhere around a 4.35, 4.38 somewhere in one of his subsequent runs. I don't know if it was exactly that order, but Will Shipley showing a lot of speed. He is showing a lot of agility. His high jump was really, really good. So my point in this helps them in the eyes of the scouts. The scouts, they have their formulas of how they look at players, and they try to boil it down. Now, I would tell you this, the NFL, just because it's the NFL, and just because these guys have jobs that says they know what they're doing, folks, we know that that means nothing. I mean, look at the Carolina Panthers. My son's a Carolina Panthers fan. And, excuse me, last year, they could have picked a fantastic wide receiver. They went with another wide receiver. And they had their reasons why. And I'm not knocking the young man. Carolina Panthers has a lot of issues. But I'm just telling you right now, that pick proved to me that they didn't know what they were doing because they had other better players on the table. And it didn't end well. It didn't end well for them. So the NFL still has a flawed system, but these guys are in front of them doing their thing, trying to improve their draft stock and move on up the boards. Get in here and say hello to a few people. Adante Aiken, wish Shipley stayed another year. Adante, I'm quite honestly, I'm excited for Phil Maffa. I appreciate what Will done, but Phil Maffa, I think, is the guy, especially where we're at with the questionable offensive line play. And I know Matt Luke is fixing that. I like having Maffa. He's just a thick, strong back. But I do agree with you that Shipley has been fantastic. I wish they could have used him a little more out of the backfield, throwing the ball to him. But, hey, we'll see. We'll see. Go get him Bobby Durkin style. Ha-ha. Howdy, boys. A.K.A. Tiggs, what's up? Yeah. Panthers have become the laughingstock of the NFL. They sure have. Good to see DP. They are definitely similar to the Coots from the armpit of the state of South Carolina. Getting back to this. So Will Shipley runs a sub 4.4 40 a couple of times. It was unofficial. But I'm trying to find out a little more about Xavier Thomas. I know that according to a few different outlets that, you know, he's actually coming out and showing out. That I heard that he ran a 4.62 in the 40 last month, and then he ran a 4.56 the other day, right? So according to this Greenville News article, it says which would have ranked third among defensive ends in the combine, but he wanted a 4.4. So Xavier Thomas is another guy. You know, he was part of the freshman class with Trevor Lawrence, and he had an amazing freshman year, and then injuries hit him. I've never felt so bad for an athlete. I mean, as this guy, he's one of, to me, he's just a great story of perseverance and not giving up. And every time he was given a chance, even if he failed, he kept going. I'd really like to see this guy just get really good and healthy and go in and do his thing in the NFL. I think that this guy he'll probably be a 5th round pick. But I'll tell you straight up, whoever gets this guy and he can stay healthy, they're getting a baller. And I said 5th round pick, folks. I didn't. I just read this. I just saw it there, 5th round pick. I didn't even see that. I see him being a later round, but he's one of those guys who is like, man, I'm in the NFL. I've come through far worse. I'm not gonna waste this opportunity. So I will throw this out there, folks, and then I'm gonna shut this video down. I said this about someone the other day, and I'm going to say it again. When players are selected in the NFL draft, especially the higher they're selected, that helps your university a lot. It helps the future of your program. The University of Georgia has majorly benefited from this, especially their defense. Players going in to their school sees all of these other guys that's been taken in just the past few drafts. University of Georgia has an outrageous amount of first and second round picks. And it encourages high school kids who, whether they're impoverished or they have a platinum spoon in their mouth, it doesn't matter. They want to go to the NFL, especially if they're of that caliber. And so as Clemson has more and more players taken in the draft, especially early on, that gives Clemson more recent collateral, okay? You're like, recent collateral, what do you mean? I've talked about Clemson is living on collateral that's older. 2018 season. By the way, I was, 6 years ago? So, the farther and farther out you get from that, the more of it that is spent. You need stuff that is relevant, and you need collateral, and you need current happenings to draw in players now in the recruiting cycle. And as you see Jeremiah Trotter, you see Nate Wiggins, you see guys like this be selected early on, guys look at them and go, yeah, I know Georgia, but you know what? Clemson, I still like Clemson. I really, really like Clemson. You need to understand something too, folks, that I said the 2018 championship was 6 years ago? Something like that? Do you realize that a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old guy right now that Clemson is recruiting, they're a junior? They're a junior and they're recruiting them. Do you realize that 16-year-old kid, when Trevor Lawrence and the boys won the national championship by 4 touchdowns over Alabama and Santa Clara, do you realize he was a 10-year-old kid? Do you realize that same 16-year-old was 8 years old when Deshaun Watson and the boys beat Alabama for that first title since 1981? You're like, Brian, why are you bringing this up? The relevancy, the farther out that you get from it, the younger the kid is, and they don't remember it. So this is good stuff that keeps Clemson relevant. So I'm pulling for these guys. I'm pulling for them as individuals. I hope they go out and they get this stuff. They get what they want. And I hope they go to the big leagues, and I hope they make a lot of money. But most of all, I hope that they manage it well and they watch about the people around them who are leeches. Whether it's women, these Instagram model types who will come in and swoop in and take all their money, or whether it's some of their old friends from back in the neighborhood that they grew up with, who are going to come in and say, well, hey, man, I was there with you, man. We grew up together. I'm struggling. And then all of a sudden, kind of like one of those stories I told where one of the wives of one of these pro athletes, when she started dating him, found out that he was paying over 30 phone bills for his friends and family. And they were just using him. So I just hope these guys, they have some good people around them. I hope that they're very careful. I told the story about my dad used to drive for pro teams, and that mothers would drop off their 18, 19-year-old daughters dressed in next to nothing to be in the hotel lobby to hopefully catch the eye of these pro athletes. I hope that these guys have some really good mentors in their ear going, hey, listen, dude, you need to realize they want to use you. And at first it's going to be fun. But they'll bankrupt you and then they'll leave you. So I just hope that for these guys, because they'll all of a sudden have more money than what they'll know to do with. So I wish them the very best of luck all the way around. So, folks, if you want to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe. Why? Why do I want you to subscribe? It's free. Also, if you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, there's a join button below the video. Parker Henderson said this yesterday. He's a member of Clemson Football Live. He said, man, I don't even notice it coming out because it's only $3 per month, or $5 if you want to do that. Also, last but not least, I have joined the College Huddle. The College Huddle, they pulled together YouTube personalities and podcasters who represent different schools and talks about their sports. They asked me to represent Clemson, and I was like, whoa! I'm like, what? What, you want me to? So I'm representing Clemson and it's been a lot of fun. So anyway, I'll give you more information about that later on. Folks, you take care of yourself. Pass this around. Drop the comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Give me an idea for another video. If I like the idea and if I feel like I can do it, I'll do it. Y'all take care of yourselves. And as always, go Tigers.